Okay, so the assignment today is going to be the test over everything that we've studied in terms of rhetorical devices. Okay, you're going to be, and you're going to write the name of your speech that you choose at the top. Okay, so let's say you do Eli Wiesel. Okay. All of these speeches are in Kittim, and you can read through them if you want, or based on my talking about it, you know you're actually going to get a paper copy. Okay. All right. So let's say that we do Eli Wiesel. We have to go through this speech. You've got your graphic organizer on your desk, and you will write the device. And then you're going to write whatever the example is, whether it's a full sentence, in this case, 2 words. That is up to the passage. And then here's the part that's new, and it's the part that's hard, and it's the part that partners help with. Okay? At the very top, you're going to see, why do you think he used this device at this point of the speech? This is where you would turn. The most common answers are going to be to emphasize, to illustrate, to create emotion, or explain. Those are not the only ones. However, your notes have all of them. You copy them down. You know how I said add this to your things? Those are the things I had you add. So all of them are in your notes. These are just the common ones. So emphasize. And it emphasizes his religion. So right here, you would write down, it emphasizes, because you need that key word, right? Emphasizes the importance of his religion by repeating the C sound. You with me so far? Okay. Now, let's say that, and Lath had a really good answer there, okay, but let's say I disagreed with him. You can still put your answer on here because it's your grade, and I could put my answer differently, okay? And then the next part is, how did the device make you feel, or how did it change your understanding of the speech? Now, for me, it didn't make me feel anything. Okay, common creator, there was no strong emotion for me, but it changed my understanding of his religion. Because the only reason for him to use alliteration to tell me about his religion is if it was really important to him. These parts are opinions, and they can't be wrong as long as what you say is logical, okay? So you can't put, it changed my understanding of the story. How? I mean, you have to explain it, okay? As long as you do that, you cannot get these 2 wrong. Does that make sense? That was weird. Okay. And then you go back to the next one. Graphic organizer, and you do number 2. Does that make sense? Now, you cannot use this one because this is your test, okay? And I cannot answer part of your test for you. So you'll have to use, if you want to use Eli Wiesel's speech, perfectly fine, but you cannot make that your first example, okay? I will, however, leave this up for you right there so that you can see it. It'll save you flipping back and forth through your notes. That way, the only reason you would have to flip through your notes is if it's not one of these 4 and you have to go find one of the ones that it's not, okay? But these 4 match everything on the last page of your notes, okay? You have the whole class to work on the speech, okay? It is due at the end of class, so you'll need to make sure that you turn it in. You can absolutely ask me for help. I want to help you, but I cannot give you the answers because it's a test. So if you're not understanding the speech, ask me for help. If you are sure that this is the device, but you want to check, you can ask, but I'm not going to just give you the answer. I'm going to ask you questions to make you think the answer through and let you draw your conclusions from there. But I won't just go yes or no. Okay? If you don't understand, Ms. Smith, I really think this is parallelism, but I don't understand how, I will re-explain parallelism to you, okay, to make sure that you understand it. But please don't say, can you tell me the answer? I can't give you the answer because it is a test. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Then, actually, this is in Kidham. Okay? And I'll let you look them up yourself. But you have 5 speeches to choose from. The first one is Patrick Henry, speech to the Virginia Convention. In this one, Patrick Henry is going through and he is talking about why we should break from Britain, the importance of standing up against tyranny and government who's trying to make us, he used the word slaves. In terms of speeches, this one is awesome, especially with today and the argument going on about whether or not the government's trying too much to control us. So you have some good things with this one. Content-wise, kids like the speech. But in past years, this is the hardest speech I teach, okay? So if you really struggle with reading, I would not choose Patrick Henry, okay? Simply because the vocabulary is so big and his sentence structure is so complicated that you won't be able to find the devices because you don't understand the speech, okay? But it is an amazing speech if you love history. Okay? Your partner, and you would say, all right, let's look at your second speech to choose from is Ben Franklin, okay? Now, Ben Franklin is a really good speech too. It's actually happening on the same day or the same topic as Patrick Henry. Ben Franklin is talking about the importance of compromising, okay, when political parties disagree, which if you look at the news is all that maybe they need to read Ben Franklin, okay? So plus side, it's interesting to read because it applies today. Downside is Ben Franklin is a little bit hard to read for some kids. I confess that there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not approve, but I am not sure I shall never approve them. Franklin likes to hear himself talk, and so he rambles sometimes, and so kids often get confused about what he's referring to. If history likes you, this is a good speech. It's easier than Patrick Henry. Same topic in terms of our government, how we should be run and so forth. But it's probably not one you will like if you struggle with reading or you don't like history. Okay. The third one is Frederick Douglass. What to the slave is the 4th of July. This is a really good speech, like great. Frederick Douglass is a former slave, okay, and he's talking about what is freedom to a slave. With the Black Lives Movement, this really kind of applies, so you might be interested in that. Downside to this speech is it's easier to read because Frederick Douglass, as a former slave, was not as educated as Patrick Henry. He was like Ivy League school. Frederick Douglass was educated, but it would have been the average education. The downside is that the speech is 25 pages long, and you only have an excerpt here. And because you only have an excerpt, they leave out some of the important parts, the textbook does, and so it's missing some things that you're like, what is he talking about? And it's in one of those missing 20 pages, okay? So you would kind of have to dig around to figure out what he's referring to, but it's a great speech. And if the freedom of African Americans is interesting to you, this would be a great one to do. The next speech, and even the excerpt was 5 pages. The next speech is Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address. Now, I love Lincoln. I love Lincoln. Second semester is all tied to him. So if you're looking for, again, this is history, but what does our country need to do to stop fighting? This is a great speech. It's 1 page, which kids love. The downside is that everyone in the first period who tried this one gave it back and said they couldn't understand it. It's pretty dense because Lincoln was very educated. He was a lawyer, which means he's very good with words. And so some of the things that he's doing is hard, okay? And then the last speech is honestly the one that I recommend for you guys. It is Elie Wiesel's Nobel Peace Prize speech. It was written because of his book Night that you read last year, which is one reason I recommend the speech. The other reason I recommend it is it was written in 1986. So the language that is used is the common everyday language that you hear every day. He does not, he was educated, but he speaks like a humble man versus one of those really smart people who likes to show how smart they are. And he does not do that. So this one is my recommendation for you in terms of choosing a speech. However, if the Holocaust or that doesn't interest you, you have some really good historical documents here to choose from. Does not matter to me. The assignment can be done with any of the 5 speeches. You're going to choose one. So the first step is to choose which speech you want to do. Now, first period, I put everyone in groups. And then everybody left their group because they couldn't agree on the same speech. And they found it easier to work by themselves, faster. It does not matter to me. I put you in groups because I want you to have help, because as I'm going around, it takes me a while, right? And if you have a partner, you have someone that you can work with, that you can talk things out with. But if you absolutely don't want to work with a partner on this assignment, I'm not going to make it. Okay, the other assignments, yes, but not this one. So what are you going to do? You are going to get the graphic organizer that I just gave you, and we have to highlight 10 devices. It does not matter to me which devices you choose, okay, from your notes. That was a good question. 10 different devices. Okay.
Even if it's like the same sentence or something, in
You can.
different ones?
This is actually something first period did is, yes, you can actually, there's one sentence in Elie Wiesel's speech that one sentence is 5 different devices. So you could conceivably do that one sentence and label it each device, and you would have 5 devices. I'm looking for devices rather than sentences. Does that make sense? Which devices do you use? On last week's assignments, we started on page 1 and we did repetition and anaphora. There is not a lot of devices from the first page. So you're going to want to start on the last page of your notes, where it does juxtaposition and paradox and antithesis. There's literally 20 to 30 of all of those in these speeches, okay? Some of these don't have any similes or any metaphors. Okay. So starting at the last page will give you more devices quicker than starting at the first page and going through and realizing none of the first 6 are even in there. Make sense? Okay. So you're going to start on the last page of your notes. And then you're going to go, okay, parallelism. I think that's one of the last ones. I don't know where on the list it is, but let's pretend parallelism. You're reading this, and you say, words of gratitude, first to our common creator. Oh, that's alliteration. So then you're going to go back to common creator. All right, ladies, first to our common creator. So why does he use alliteration? What is the whole point there? Look at common creator. Is it emphasizing anything, do you think? gotta record that. According to Eli Wiesel, in his religion, it would be God. And so, by using the alliteration common creator, it pulls the reader's notice to the word creator, and you find your next device. And then after you find your next device,